Welcome to the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with RealTime Fantasy Sports. I'm joined by Logan Glaser of RealTime Fantasy Sports as well. Logan, thanks for coming on the show again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jeff.
We are going to do our waiver wire ads for week 6. Logan and I are going to give you 3 players we like, a defense as well, because we all know everybody likes to stream a defense. And so we like to give you one to consider using for this week, but we also have 3 ads. And Logan, we were kind of talking about this before we came on. Unfortunately, the injuries hit last week. We had a lot of marquee injuries in those games last week. It's going to leave people scrambling a little bit for this week, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And it was a mixture of star players and just average players. So you got all in between. So there are lots of different players that you can look at for the waiver wire this week. I think last week it was a little bit lighter on the waiver wire load, but this week there are several good options to be looking
Yeah,
at.
I agree with you. And the buys this week, there's only 2 buys this week, Packers and Steelers. So we don't have to deal with 4 or 6 teams on a buy. So that's a good thing. But the injuries are going to cloud things a little bit for fantasy teams, I think, for this week,
Oh
Logan.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Especially.
let's jump into this, Logan. Talk about the players we're thinking about adding this week. Why don't you go ahead and go first?
Yeah, first player I'm going to be looking at is Deontay Foreman. So Foreman's been a healthy and active for the past 3 weeks with that. But we got Khalil Herbert and Rashawn Johnson both a little banged up. Herbert's already announced that he's going to miss the next couple of weeks with that. Rashawn Johnson is in the concussion protocol, so something to keep an eye on. If he does miss, Foreman is going to be a must start and a great matchup versus Minnesota. Even if Rashawn Johnson does play, I still like Foreman. I think he can be a sneaky flex option depending on your other options. So definitely something to keep an eye on. And a guy I'm definitely going to be looking at through the waiver wire. He's only 22% owned, and I think he'll have a good impact on lineups this week.
Yeah, he was drafted in a lot of leagues, but ended up getting dropped when he was a healthy scratch.
Yeah,
But he
I had
should
a
be
couple
back in the
drops
mix.
of him as well, even
Yep.
even recently. Because I mean, if Herbert and Johnson are both active, he has no value in leagues.
Yeah.
It kind of, but with both of them banged up, tons of value there.
Yep. And he looked good last year when he played. So I like that
Yeah.
pickup for sure, especially with that offense playing better. So my first pickup is another player that could benefit from an injury, and that's Jeff Wilson of the Miami Dolphins. So Devon Achane, he's going to be out some time, it seems, with this knee injury. Could be out several weeks, it said, even considering putting him on IR. It's really unfortunate because he's really played well here of late. So that leaves an opening for that number 2 running back spot behind Raheem Mostert. Wilson's been out as well. He's been on injured reserve all year, but he's been activated. He could play this week in week 6. That practice window is open. So if he's active and playing in that offense, I like him. He's owned in 31.4% of leagues on our site as well. So I think he has some real value going forward. I might not use him this week because I want to kind of see how they're going to use him. But after that, if he's getting double-digit touches in that offense, watch out. So I think Wilson definitely has some value, especially with Mostert kind of tailing off a little bit in recent weeks as well with the chain playing well. I
Yeah,
don't know
it's
if this.
pretty rare that you can start 2 running backs on a team,
Yeah,
but with how electric Miami's offense is and how many points they put up, absolutely. I mean, we've seen it all year. I mean, Mostert and Jane are in the top 5
top
running
5.
backs,
Yep.
which
2
is
and 3.
crazy from the same team.
I've never seen that in all my years of fantasy. Have 2 fantasy backs top 5 at this point. It's just absolutely nuts. Absolutely crazy. All right, Logan, give me another one of your waiver
Yeah,
wire ads.
next one, I think he's going to be the most popular player on the waiver wire. He's only 3.5% owned, and that's Amari DiMercado for Arizona. We got James Conner, who announced that he's going to be missing multiple weeks. Also, Keontae Ingram is a little bit banged up, so he's got DiMercado is going to have all the workload for that Arizona offense. And with the announcement that he's going to be, or Connor is going to be missing multiple weeks, he's an option not only just for this week, but for the next few weeks moving forward. He's got great upcoming matchups against the Rams in Seattle, and he's going to have a huge volume workload. And we've kind of been mentioning Arizona's offense is kind of how like Seattle and Detroit were last year. They're going to be down in games, and they're going to be putting up lots of points because that defense is not the best. So in last game, he had 10 carries, 45 yards, a touchdown, and he's also has 6 receptions on the year and limited workload. So with the high volume, I really like him as a top waiver option this week.
Yeah, I think he's my top pickup this week as well, just for that fact. Like you said, a lot of volume. They could be playing from behind at times. The offense hasn't looked too bad, quite frankly, also. So I think he's a great pickup, and he should be snatched up in a lot of leagues, especially with the news just breaking here recently that Connor's going to be out several weeks. So unfortunate for Connor owners, but if you're looking for a replacement, DeMarcado is a good selection. So I have another injury replacement for my next pickup, and that's KJ Osborne with the Minnesota Vikings. He's owned on 40.5% of leagues on our site, so he's available in about 60% of leagues. Injury to Justin Jefferson really opens the door for Osborne to start, grab more playing time, more targets. He had a season-high 9 targets last week, finished with his best numbers of the year, 5 catches for 49 yards. I think he's worth adding in all formats if he's out there. It's a pass-first, explosive offense. I actually think Jordan Addison probably benefits the most fantasy-wise in that offense, but Osborne and even Powell, another guy that people are putting on some of their waiver wire pickups too. He could be getting some work out of the slot. So Brandon Powell's another guy I would look at if you're really looking for a deep dive at receiver. All right,
Yeah, I'm
Logan, give me
interested to
another
see
player.
how that Minnesota offense operates
Yep.
without Jefferson. I'm not sure if they might turn more toward the run game. I think Cousins definitely takes the biggest hit with Jefferson being gone, but I think everyone else in the receiving game definitely goes up.
Yeah, Hawkinson too is really intriguing to me going forward. I think he could really be the benefactor in the passing game. He could rack up the targets, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
All right, give me another one of your players,
Yeah,
Logan.
last one is he's more owned. He's 57% owned, and it's going to be Rashee Rice for Kansas City. I think Kansas City's still searching for that wide receiver number one. They've had several different options, but Rice has really done well in the past couple of weeks. Last week he had 4 receptions, 33 yards, and a touchdown. So Mahomes is looking his way, especially if Travis Kelce misses any time with that injury that he picked up. They might play it on the safer side, given that's a long season and they're off to a good start. But I think Rice would be in for a huge workload if Travis Kelce does miss any time.
Yeah, definitely. He could be a good speculative ad, especially for the rest of the year as he gets more accustomed to playing in that offense. My last ad is a tight end, and it's Logan Thomas with the Washington Commanders. So he had his best game of the season last week, caught 9 passes for 77 yards on 11 targets. He is owned on just 26.9% of leagues on our site. He's really been a big part of the offense much of the season, though. He has double-digit fantasy points 2 or 3 games, plays in a pass-first offense that likes to use the tight end. Thomas is the number 1 tight end. He has injury concerns just from the past few years, but as long as he's playing, he's healthy. I don't think last week was a fluke. I think he's going to keep racking up the targets and do well in this offense that really likes to feature the tight end. So if you're looking for tight end help, Logan Thomas is out there in about 2/3 of leagues on our site. All right, Logan, going from one Logan to another. That's you. Give me your streaming defense for this week. Who do you like as your
Yeah,
streamer?
I'm going to be going with the Chargers defense, and surprisingly, they're only 12% owned in RT Sports leagues, which was very surprising for me, especially how electric that defense has been. So far, they've forced 7 turnovers in 4 games, and they also have 16 sacks in 4 games. They're a top 10 defense. Even that's with the bye last week. Coming off of that, they're playing Dallas this week, and Dak has some accuracy issues, as we have seen. Last game, he had 3 interceptions. I think it could be a very big game for Chargers defense. The one thing that they do not have this year is a touchdown, which is why they're just right around the number 10 mark. If they get a touchdown, then they can easily be a top 5 defense overall.
Yeah, I think a lot of people shy away from them because they've let up a lot of yards and points. But like you said, they're racking up the sacks. They got a dynamic pass rush, and they can intercept the ball as well.
For
So
sure. And you definitely need to be looking at your scoring settings, especially like in our money leagues. It's not as big of a deal with points scored. It's more about turnovers for sacks and stuff like that. But if you're in like a commissioner service league where points do play a big factor, then that's where you can kind of look elsewhere.
exactly. My streaming defense, I like the Chargers one. That was one I considered, but you took them. So I'm going to say the Tennessee Titans. They're owned on 10.5% of leagues on our site. So they have at least 3 sacks, 4 or 5 games. Again, know your scoring system. They're getting the sacks, so they get some points there. They also have 5 or more fantasy points, 3 of 5 games. And they play the Ravens this week, who quite frankly have not looked very good offensively. They keep dropping passes in the passing game. The running game doesn't look great outside of Lamar Jackson. So I think the Titans can score some points in this matchup, maybe cause a couple turnovers as well to Lamar Jackson, who's had some turnover issues in recent games also. So that's my streaming defense for week 6. All right, Logan, that's our waiver wire ads for week 6. Appreciate you coming on and joining me as always. A lot of fun talking with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jeff.
Good luck to all of you out there in navigating those waiver wires this week, and good luck in all of your games. This has been Jeff Paur with RealTime Fantasy Sports. Have a great day.